My story is one of real ignorance. I was in my senior year, and I was with a young man that I had known 3 years, and we were going to get married, and we were very much in love, and I wound up in a crisis pregnancy, and I just remember being so scared to go to talk to my parents.
I decided to retain my privacy because abortion is a very personal matter. And the reason why I've decided to speak is because it became a very, there were very bizarre, intrusive energies coming from the anti-abortion side, the pro-lifers, as they call themselves.
I met a woman when I was 24, going to college, and I thought I was in love. She was 18. At the time, I was drinking, using drugs. She wanted to wait until we got married to have sex, and at that time in my life, I was way too self-centered, and I kept pushing her until she did have sex with me. When I found out she was pregnant, my first thought was I wanted to get married. I mean, I was convinced I was in love with her. She didn't want to get married. She had dreams of being an actress, and she told me she didn't want to have the child. She wanted an abortion.
We counsel over 3,000 girls and women a year, about 2,000 of them pregnant, and most of those seriously considering or planning on an abortion if they are pregnant. And we are successful in 50 to 60% of the cases. We're successful in turning around a mother's plan by offering her help and hope instead of an abortion.
When they invited us into the room where the abortion was performed, everybody was pretty cold. I mean, I felt invisible. My girlfriend started crying at the time. They just told her to take off her clothes, put on that gown, get up on the table. And there was a female doctor who came in, and she asked, just kept saying the woman's name, do you want an abortion, do you want an abortion? And when she was crying, she said yes. But as soon as they started like touching her, they started to dilate her. They were very rough.
I had 2 abortions. The first was when I was first married for the first time, and the second was after my daughter was 5 months old, after my second marriage. The first abortion, I felt I had no choice. My husband at the time wanted no children, and I essentially made the decision on my own without consulting my friends, my parents, or even my husband at the time.
In the midst of this debate, is there room for common ground? Do you have common ground? Let me start with Monsignor Hart.
Well, the common ground that we all have is that this is a very difficult question. We're looking into the eyes of specific people, and we all believe that we have a responsibility to look at the human drama that's going on. Our response would be in the womb as well as outside the womb.
I think everyone should respond to this question.
I think that there is room for common ground, and that is for us to do more than we have done in talking about the morality of abortion. I think there is so much talk about the legality of abortion that many of us forget that there are big moral questions here. There are many good reasons why women can find to not have an abortion, and those reasons must be honored. There are reasons that women find to have abortions, and women must discuss those reasons with sensitive counselors. You know, what disturbs me most is when the debate descends to simply a debate about legal policy. This is the most glaring moral issue that America has faced since slavery, and that is precisely the reason why it is the right analogy. It is the one issue that has torn our country apart more than any other issue except slavery. And I'm comfortable talking about the morality of this with people, not spending my time talking about whether laws should be repealed or enacted, not questioning whether this judge or that judge should sit on this bench, but rather talking to women and saying to them, We honor your moral confusion. We honor the agony you are in. And we want to talk to you and help you sort out these issues and understand what your heart and your soul tell you you must do.
All right, Ms. Kavadias and Rabbi
This
Brickner,
is
we'd
so
like
not
to hear
common
from
ground
both
what
of you.
either of you has said. I find it very interesting. I mean, I think that not all women have moral confusion. Some women know very clearly what their moral standing is as human beings, that they are full human beings, and they know what they think is right and wrong, and they know what their own denomination teaches them. However, I think that there is common ground in the things we should be doing more of, and that includes providing services to women who choose to carry through a pregnancy, making sure that no woman is forced to make a decision about whether or not to carry a pregnancy to term based on her income status or based on her access to food or housing for her family.
Amen.
That
Amen.
everyone should be taken care
Hallelujah.
of. Yes. And then the other thing is to provide education so that people have the means by which they know how not to get pregnant if indeed they are pregnant. And then the last thing I think for common ground that we should reach towards is compassion. And it's something that we haven't had enough of, and I think it's something we should all get more of.
Rabbi Brickner, you get the last word on this
The
one.
common ground finally ought to be, at least, in the prevention of unwanted pregnancy and in helping women and men take responsible control for their reproductive selves because they're walking around with time bombs inside of them.
There is no justification to destroy the life of any human being, especially an innocent human being, in its earliest stages of development. Rather, it is the responsibility of society, but especially the parents, to surround that child with support, protection, love, and sustenance.
So is there a compromise? Is there any situation where you feel that an abortion is acceptable?
No, I don't see any situation in which an abortion is acceptable. I think, as I said, that the circumstances that raise the question of abortion are the circumstances that challenge society to surround each woman with the protection, the care, and the compassion that she needs to carry out her pregnancy.
Bishop, what would you say to a pregnant woman who's financially, emotionally, and perhaps spiritually feeling that she's not ready to take care of her child?
I would tell her that she has the supports around her to help her, and that, in fact, this is very important to her as well as it is to the baby. Our society is the most affluent society in the history of the human race, and certainly we can summon up the financial supports that any woman needs. Socially, we can also find people who will support a woman as she goes through the difficulties of pregnancy, if there are difficulties, and certainly there are for many women, those especially who might be considering an abortion. Spiritually, she should be convinced that there are not only people who will support her with their prayers and their good works and their kindness, but also there's a loving God who recognizes her efforts, who supports her in her efforts, and who credits her with the tremendous heroism that she brings to carrying through her pregnancy and giving life to her child.